And that sun is what is giving life and light to all of us. None of us would have life, none of us would have food if it wasn't for that sun. If that sun wasn't emitting ultra-weak photon emissions, and then those ultra-weak photon emissions going into our food, and then our food turning those ultra-weak photon emissions into minerals, and then either you eat those minerals or you consume second source minerals by eating the animals that ate those minerals, right? And that's how you have sustained and maintained vitality and life force up to this point, because you're either getting first source sunlight energy from the Son of God as it passes through the cross always and forever as it is the Son of God, right? Or you're getting second source sunlight energy because you're eating animals. But regardless, if it wasn't for the sun, none of us would be here right now. None of us would have sustained life. But regardless of all these other modalities, there's nothing more consistent than the sun. And that's why it's king of the heavens. That's why it rules the heavens. And that's why it is Son of God.
And gluttony is simply eating animals, because we don't need them. I haven't needed animal products for 18 years and I haven't died. So it's provable that the vegetarian diet, as Pythagoreans were called, vegetarians were called for 3,000 years before modern people started calling them vegetarians and vegans. Well, for 3,000 years, vegetarians were called Pythagoreans. And who do we say is the greatest genius? Like another genius, other than Pythagoras, Da Vinci, vegetarian. He said, I will not allow my body to be a graveyard for corpses, because that's what they are. They are rotting corpses. A blueberry, a strawberry, a banana is magnetism, electrical charge. So that's why vegetarians glow. That's why they're beautiful. They're sexy. They're radiant. Because they haven't contaminated themselves with animal blood. Because you cannot eat flesh without eating plasma, blood. So it's a blood addiction. That's gluttony. It's blood guilt and bloodthirstiness. That's what gluttony is. It's blood guilt and bloodthirstiness. And people are addicted to the adrenochrome because animals are tortured when they are murdered. Because you don't kill animals, you murder them. Well, that's in the case of cats and dogs, how hypocritical. If you have a dog barbecue, you go to jail as a murderer. Funny about that. Same with your little kitties. You can't have microwave cat and serve it up to your guests because they're going to report you and you'll end up in jail. But you can do it to a one-day lamb and have veal. Oh, that's so nice, isn't it? But you can't hear the mother, ma, ma, ma. I've heard the screams of thousands of cows. I used to live near a farm where they would steal the one-day veals off the cows. And you know what I'd hear? I'd fall asleep to hundreds and hundreds of cows going, ma, 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 all night long. Why? Because the gluttons, supply and demand, and the farmers don't care. Oh yeah, one day old little cow looking for its mother's tits. And we're supplying this evil, demonic, animal sacrificing, murderous cult. This is tantamount to Satanism. Where do you draw the line? You can eat dogs in China. You can go there and have a dog barbecue. But you can't do it in Australia or the USA. You go to jail. You're a criminal. Hypocrisy. You're a murderer all the same. Whoever you are that eats rotting corpse. No wonder you're not good looking and you got a lot of wrinkles and you're dying of heart attacks and filling all the hospitals with obesity, diabetes, and rheumatism, and heart disease, and asthma. I've never ever known. I've heard these things, but I've never ever experienced anything because I will not let or entertain any of those diseases. No arthritis, still play the guitar? Yeah. Your eyes, can you see still? Yeah, they work. My heart works. Mm-hmm. The vegetarian diet works. And besides, it's not your choice. People say, it's my choice. It's my meat. No, it's not your meat. That animal bum, the bum that you're eating, belongs to the animal. And you are what you eat. You know, bacon bum, it's bum. You're eating bum. You are what you eat. It's not yours. It's not your choice. You don't have a choice. If you have an electrical car, you can't put gas in it. You have no choice. The manual tells you you do not have a choice. You must put electricity into this car to operate it. If you have, and that's why you flesh eaters, not vegetarians, are filling all the hospitals and supplying them with plenty of money. And you can skip the doctors if you want, like I've done all my life, and the hospitals, and eat apples, because an apple a day keeps the doctor away. You don't want the doctor. But people, because people are gluttonous, they have to have a doctor, and they've got to carry their hemorrhoid cream with them. I don't have to worry about hemorrhoids. I don't have to worry about my ulcer. I don't have to worry about constipation. I've never been constipated one day in my life because I've been athletic, a gymnast, a runner.
Beautiful what you just went through with Santos, talking about, you know, the origin of the term vegetarianism really being Pythagoreans. And, you know, one of the most brilliant men ever is Pythagoras, obviously, and vegetarians were just geniuses. They were associated with being genius. Why? Because they're eating first source sunlight, thus increasing one's chrism, thus increasing one's charisma, thus increasing one's productivity, and just their whole entire auric field was more welcoming and vibrational than anyone else who doesn't have their charisma, doesn't have their chrism, doesn't have their light. You know what I mean? And I was watching some of the comments. They were talking about, you know, the different forms of gluttony and how gluttony could just be over consuming as well. Yes, of course, you know, you want to be, the first step I think is getting rid of the gluttony, the predatorial temptations and desires that one can have really started just because you've tasted blood. You know, if you've never heard of the gorilla experiment, there were these gorillas who were given a little bit of blood on their fruit every day for 2 weeks, and after consuming this fruit with a little bit of blood on the fruit every day for 2 weeks, eventually they desired only to have meat with blood on it, and they rejected the fruit. And how easily could that happen to humans? Well, that's exactly what has happened to most of us when we are fed bacon and eggs for breakfast growing up before we go to school, right? And that's exactly what most of us were fed going to school, bro. Most of us were fed bacon, eggs, and cheese. And so we subconsciously develop this desire to think, oh, that's what food is. That's what source is. That's what's giving me vitality and my energy. Little do we know, if we just had some raspberries and blueberries and a banana that day, we'd have much more light and life and vibrance to us to carry us through our day. And I probably could have focused in school if I ate that instead of fucking Lucky Charms or bacon and eggs. Like that's basically what my breakfast was growing up. It was either bacon and eggs or like Lucky Charms and a little Debbie snack.
Here you go, children. Here's your pig bum and chicken period for breakfast, and off to school after you have that chicken period. It's got protein in it. Well, you get protein out of fruit. Eat cucumbers, watermelon, tomatoes, that's a fruit. There's lots of fruit. There's so much.
Peas,
Yeah,
garbanzo beans, all the legumes, all the seeds, chia seeds, everything. You can get so much protein, amino acids from the plant and fungi kingdom, which are first sources of light. It's funny, guys. We were at this bonfire last night, and there was a gentleman there who, he's not necessarily like living the life that we're all living, but this is why we do these bonfires and these get-togethers, because it's about sharing the lifestyle, right? And he's talking about, oh, I'm too far gone, and he was even drinking a couple of beers, and we didn't bring any beer, obviously. He just brought the beer to the bonfire, and he's like, oh, there's no way I could really like lead that lifestyle. But then towards the end of the night, he was talking about how he's like, yeah, even though I don't do it, I know that vegetarianism is the way. Because when you think about it, it's just that's the first source of light. Animals are second source light. They're eating the light from the fruits and vegetables after the fruits and vegetables absorb the light first. And so he's like, yeah, I get it. Like, that's really where it's at. And that's the highest form of what humans' capacity can be. And when you really think about it, guys, when you really, really think about it, and you remove yourself from all the social conditioning, all of the programming that has been forced upon you from every news outlet, every media outlet, every single billboard, magazine ad, and so on and so forth, and commercial, when you get rid of all of that, your desires to either take a knife and slit a chicken's throat and then slice it up and season it and call that food, you compare that to your desire to catch an apple that's falling off of a tree. Like, which one is taking more life and which one is giving more life? Which one is costing you more morally and physically? Which one is giving you more life physically? It's very, very simple to think about. And obviously all of us know that it feels better to give than it does to take. And so obviously, as you're taking this chicken's life, you're not gonna sit there and morally feel like, oh, okay, this is totally cool. I'm supposed to take this chicken's life, especially when the chicken is like struggling and like doing everything it can to try and stay alive, and or the cow is trying to protect its calf as you're taking away its calf because you think that you have the right to that cow's milk instead of that calf having the right to that cow's milk, when really it's the calf that needs the cow's milk. But no, you need your raw milk. You just need your raw milk because it's got all the enzymes and probiotics in there. Man, did you know that human breast milk has more enzymes and probiotics and micronutrients than cow's milk ever could? And it is actually better for you as well. And if you could just get your hands on a healthy woman's breast milk, that would be so much better for you than any type of cow's milk. But the cow's milk though,
no.
Oh my God.
Crazy. Milk. They tried to give it to me at school, at primary school, and I always used to grab milk because that was the thing.
That was the thing.
In the 60s, little boy growing up, went to state school, primary school. They'd bring crates of milk, and I used to get my milk, go around the corner, tip it out. I mean, I was smart enough back then to know that it's fucking disgusting. It's like, I don't know what to say. But where were you going before I interrupted you, by the way? Sorry.
Okay. We were just talking about the different benefits of like leading a natural lifestyle of consuming the things that are naturally given to us.
Yeah.
When you think about it, when you think about Mother Earth, right? Mother Earth is very nurturing. She freely gives us these apples. She freely gives us these avocados. She freely gives us all these different fruits, right? And they freely fall from the tree. There's no cutting taking place. You don't got to cut the kale and all that stuff. Most of these things freely fall when they are ready, right? Likewise, with a mother who freely gives you her breast milk to nurture you, to give you the energy and vitality and nutrients that you need as a baby so that you can grow big and strong and develop the bones and the thinking and all the things that you need as a baby to even go from a baby to a child, right? And then however long you choose to consume that, or your mother raises you to consume that, that's entirely between y'all. But when you are consuming things that are freely given to you, when you think of it like that, contrary to consuming things that you had to take or someone had to take, then they gave it to you, or then you bought it. Here's the thing, guys, karmically, the food that you are getting from the cow's milk, the food that you are getting from the meat, karmically, the food that you are getting from the chicken, there's more weight, there's more spiritual weight, there's more of a red aura behind this food than there is of a golden white aura that you would see around an apple, around a pineapple, around a papaya, around all these amazing fruits that are freely given to us. Every single time that you are about to put something in your mouth, ask yourself, from the original point of where it came from, was it freely given to whomever harvested it, or whomever harvested it, did they have to take it? And that's going to determine how you feel after you consume that food. Because guess what? If you're consuming animal products, well, and they're in a certain frequency as they died, well, what does trauma do? Trauma gets stored into the nervous system. Well, then you're eating that trauma. And Santos, we've talked about this before, when you're eating animal foods, you're basically an adrenochrome addict, because it's the adrenochrome, which is in the blood. And then you're addicted to that adrenochrome, and you're addicted to the hormones that are being pumped into the blood as they are in that fearful state. And it's what's different between that than any of these sick, twisted Hollywood actors that are actually harvesting adrenochrome from kids by scaring the shit out of these kids and then, sucking on their blood in however fucking way they do it, whatever fucked up way they do it. How is that different? How is that different where you're getting excited off of the hormones from the fear in the blood in the meat? How is that different than any of these sick, twisted Hollywood actors that are actually doing the same thing with children? There is no difference. Why? Because these foods were taken from people. And that's exactly what that person just now commented. Yeah, it can cause mad cow disease, because these cows, they get mad because there's all these hormones and everything is just absolutely imbalanced, and then you get imbalanced because you're consuming those hormones, and then you get mad. Yes, Marcus. Go ahead, Santos.
And that's why those child torturing people exist, because we do that to animals, because that's the law, that what you do, others will do to you. See, the animals don't have a voice to complain about all of this. We condemn humans that eat other humans, called cannibals, but animals can't condemn humans for eating them. So they need people like us who are God-minded and Christened to speak for them. They're voiceless. They're speechless. But their cries speak of the agony, and that agony transmutes into adrenochrome loaded in your next steak. Enjoy the addiction, because it will keep you in the matrix. You will never disentangle yourself from this labyrinth of miasma and degeneracy. Look around.
You go back to like all these different spiritual rules and commandments. Just follow the golden rule. Just treat others the way that you want to be treated. Yo,
todo es reciclable. Pregúntale al fuego, el agua, la tierra y el aire. La chispa divina que habita da vida, habilita la habilidad de debilitar sistemas deshabitando ciudades.